Okay. Hello, welcome, and thank you for being here. I thought I'd start with some quotes. Let's have a look. I never knew what real happiness was until I got married. And by then it was too late. Money can't buy happiness. It can, however, rent it. It's hard to tell what brings happiness. Wealth has failed, but then so has poverty. They say money doesn't bring happiness, but everybody still wants to prove it for themselves. My wife and I were happy for 20 years. And then we met. Okay. All right, in case you haven't understood, this talk is going to be about happiness. Okay? So, here's a question for you. How happy are you on a scale of 1 to 7? Can you please make a note? Just write down the figure. Is it 6.5? Is it 3.2? Any numbers? Hands up. Yeah. 7. 7 out of 7. Oh, that's right, yeah. 8 out of 7. That's remarkable. Yeah? Anybody else? What about the ladies here at the front? 6 out of 7. Okay? Anyone? And 3. Okay. Well, scientists have done this. They go around asking people, how happy are you? And on average, people say they're reasonably happy. 5.6 on average. But the big question is this. Can we change that? And there's been lots of research on this. Okay? And apparently, 40% of how happy we are is down to genes. Because there are some people who are more naturally predisposed towards being happy than others. Another 20% has to do with external circumstances. Okay, so, I don't know, you have an accident or you win the lottery and so on. But another 40% is down to us. Depends on what we do. Okay, so in this talk today, I would like to share with you some findings from the science of positive psychology and 4 practical techniques. Yeah? 4 things that we can do to make ourselves happier. Okay, researchers have tried these and they have been found to work. Now you might say, what does all this have to do with ELT? Well, here's the interesting thing. All 4 of these techniques have to do with language. So we can use them in class, help our students improve their English, and make them happier at the same time. Okay? But first, let's start with what happiness is. Happiness is a bit like love. Okay? It's a polysemous word. So we are going to listen to Marty Seligman. Marty Seligman is one of the pioneers in positive psychology. And he's going to be talking to us about the 3 different types of happiness. Now, as you know, before you give your students a video clip, you give them some focus questions. So here are 5 questions for you. What's the first kind of happiness? What are the 2 problems associated with it? What's the second kind of happiness? How can you try to attain it? And finally, what's the third kind of happiness? Okay? Let's watch Marty Seligman.
And I believe there are 3 different, and I call them different because different interventions build them. It's possible to have one rather than the other. 3 different happy lives. The first happy life is the pleasant life. This is a life in which you have as much positive emotion as you possibly can and the skills to amplify it. The second is a life of engagement, a life in your work, your parenting, your love, your leisure. Time stops for you. That's what Aristotle was talking about. And third, the meaningful life. So I want to say a little bit about each of those lives and what we know about them. The first life is the pleasant life. And it's simply, as best we can find it, it's having as many of the pleasures as you can, as much positive emotion as you can, and learning the skills, savoring mindfulness, that amplify them, that stretch them over time and space. But the pleasant life has 3 drawbacks, and it's why positive psychology is not happyology, and why it doesn't end here. The first drawback is that it turns out the pleasant life, your experience of positive emotion, is heritable, about 50% heritable, and in fact, not very modifiable. So the different tricks that Mathieu and I and others know about increasing the amount of positive emotion in your life are 15 to 20% tricks, getting more of it. Second is that positive emotion habituates. It habituates rapidly, indeed. It's all like French vanilla ice cream. The first taste is 100%. By the time you're down to the sixth taste, it's gone. And as I said, it's not particularly malleable. And this leads to the second life. This is indeed what Mike Csikszentmihalyi has been talking about flow, and it's distinct from pleasure in a very important way. Pleasure has raw feels. You know it's happening. There's thought and feeling. But what Mike told you yesterday, during flow, you can't feel anything. You're one with the music. Time stops. You have intense concentration. And this is indeed the characteristic of what we think of as the good life. And we think there's a recipe for it, and it's knowing what your highest strengths are. And again, there's a valid test of what your 5 highest strengths are, and then recrafting your life to use them as much as you possibly can. Recrafting your work, your love, your play, your friendship, your parenting. What you get out of that is not smiliness. You don't look like Debbie Reynolds. You don't giggle a lot. What you get is more absorption. So that's the second path. The first path, positive emotion. The second path is eudaimonia and flow. And the third path is meaning. This is the most venerable of all the happinesses traditionally. And meaning in this view consists of, very parallel to eudaimonia, it consists of knowing what your highest strengths are and using them to belong to and in the service of something larger than you are.
Okay, so that was Marty Seligman. Let's see whether you remember something. What's the first kind of happiness? First one? Yes, the pleasant life. And so, but there are 2 problems with it. What are the 2 problems? Largely heritable, and also we habituate very easily. The second one? The good life. The idea of being absorbed in what you do. And I think this is what Professor Krashen is going to be talking about later. This idea of flow, an idea floated by Michelioudakis. I cannot pronounce his name. Okay, the idea of flow. And if you choose the level of activities, if you choose them properly, then you'll find you should enter this state of flow. And the last one, how can you try to attain it? Do you remember? Identify your strengths and recrafting your life, yeah? As I said. And finally, the third kind of happiness? Okay, the meaningful life, the idea of belonging to something larger than yourself. Okay, so let's move on now. The basics. I would like to start with a discovery which came as a shock to me when I first read about it. Here it is. Nature does not want you to be happy. Nature wants you to be successful in the Darwinian sense of the word, which means survival and reproduction. The big question is not what happiness is. The big question is what happiness is for. And happiness is the incentive that nature offers us to get us to do certain things. Yeah? Happiness is the big fat carrot that nature holds in front of us to get us moving in a certain direction. So nature tells you, okay, you work hard and save money and buy this house and then you'll never have another problem. Yeah? You marry that guy and you live happily ever after. Okay. You win that Elton Award and you will have attained nirvana. You sleep with Monica Bellucci and you'll forget everything else. Where was I? Okay. Yeah. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes nature is right, of course. But that's not the point. Basically, here's the thing. Nature lies to us. And there is a reason why nature tells us lies. Remember, nature wants us to be successful. Now, what would happen if, having attained a goal, we stopped and rested on our laurels? Nothing. We wouldn't make any progress. That's why nature has installed within each and every one of us a certain piece of software. Namely, habituation. We adapt to things. We get used to things. Okay? So scientists have done this. They asked a number of people, what would make you happy? And some people say, I don't know, winning the lottery, perhaps. Yeah? I would have financial security, and I would be able to devote more time to my hobbies and spend more time with my family and friends. Okay, so scientists studied this, and they found people who had won the lottery, a lot of money. Okay, and what did they discover? These people were ecstatic for the first 2 or 3 months, and then a year later, they were back to normal, back to the baseline. Okay. So, the idea here is, this is an interesting finding. When we keep focusing on the future, we forget to be happy in the present. And that's the moral here. Nature wants us to look ahead. Okay? But we have a choice in the matter. We can choose to focus instead on the present. And this is my first activity. Here it is. Count your blessings. What I would like you to do is to make a list. I'm sure you all have pen and paper. You're teachers, after all, yeah? If you don't have, I don't know, you could always use lipstick, yeah? Instead of a pen. So I want you to make a list of 3 things for which you feel you should be grateful. 3 things. And then I want you to turn to the person next to you and share one of these things. And then this other person is going to share one of their things with you. But don't just mention things, okay? I want you to also explain to the other person why you think you should be grateful. For example, I might look up, I think I'm grateful, I should be grateful for the fact that I own my own flat. So I don't have to worry about paying the rent. Okay, I don't have to worry about moving house if my landlord or landlady, choose they want to move in and so on. I don't have to think twice or ask people about redecorating and so on and so forth. Okay? 3 things. Let me check my instructions here. You make a list of how many things? 3 things, okay. And then what do? Do you share them all in one go? One at a time, and you take turns. But you need to also explain why you think you should be grateful. Okay, off you go. This is a practical session, okay? You're expected to do things. All right, all right. Let me stop you there. Alas, we don't have the time to do everything. Okay. The idea is for you to see how the activity works. Okay. I always feel that the best way to understand an activity is to experience it yourself. So that shows you, what you can do in class. So can I have any ideas? You know, any ideas about what things you think you ought to be grateful for? Health. Yes, okay. Yeah. I wish students would speak in English. Yeah. Don't you hate it when they do that? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, then. The lady at the back? Yeah. Health. Obviously, yeah. Uh-huh. Anything else? Yeah. Much. The chance to make a difference. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So you feel you have this, and you're grateful for this, okay? Yeah. Like just being alive. So, uh-huh. Okay. All right. I can't hear you. Sorry. Absolutely. You know. Yeah. And if you think about our parents and grandparents and the things they had to go through, it's a very good reason to be grateful for. Okay. Yeah. Job satisfaction. Uh-huh. And the one thing to be said for ELT. Not much on the money side of things, but okay. Yeah, the lady at the back in white. Traveling. Okay. All right. So you get the idea now. Let's move on to the second thing here. The social dimension. Remember what we said earlier. Nature wants you to be successful. And for human beings, being successful meant being part of a group. Has always meant that. For this reason, nature has installed another piece of software within us. So we feel good when we are with other people. Okay? We feel happy when we spend time with friends and we spend time with family. And we feel terrible when we feel cut off from others. Okay? And that's why bullying feels so terrible. Not only do you feel excluded from your group of tormentors, you feel excluded from everybody else who do not step in to take your side. Yeah? And Professor Lieberman has done research on this, and he has come with some amazing discoveries. He has found, first of all, that the pain of social exclusion is excruciating. Second, that it registers in the same part of the brain as physical pain. And one of the studies he did was a study with a game called Cyberball. Here's what he did. He had his subjects sit in front of a computer. And he told them, okay, you are going to play a simple ball tossing game with another two people, okay, who are in different rooms. That's what he told them. Okay, very easy. All you need to do is toss the ball to one of the two people. Let's see what happened. Yes, Professor Lieberman.
So about a decade ago, Naomi Eisenberger and I set out to test whether social pain is more than just a metaphor. And we asked people to lay in an MRI scanner, so we were taking pictures of their brain, while they played what they thought was a simple ball tossing game with two other people that they thought were also in scanners. And if you were in the game, you'd control this little hand at the bottom of the screen, and whenever the ball came to you, you would simply press a button to decide who the ball was going to go to next. Really boring stuff. Not a very exciting game, but then something interesting happens. The other two players who were actually controlling stop throwing you the ball forever. You never get the ball again for the rest of the game. And what we found was sort of two things that we thought were pretty fascinating when we looked at the brains of these individuals. So when we looked at what was going on when these folks were being rejected, we saw that the same brain regions that register the distress of physical pain, how much you're sort of bothered by some physical pain experience, were also more active when people were left out of the game compared to when they had been included. Moreover, the more an individual told us they felt bad about being left out of the game, so the more social distress they experienced, the more these responses were sort of amplified in those particular individuals. And if that doesn't persuade you that social pain is real pain, and I know it won't for all of you, consider this. What we in the US call Tylenol, what you call paracetamol here, makes these effects go away. So you can give people paracetamol and it will actually make these social pain effects go away in terms of people's experience and also in terms of the neural responses that we see. So the same painkiller that you take for your headache can help with your heartache as well.
Okay, so now you know. You have a quarrel with your friend, you take a couple of aspirins. Yeah? Your boyfriend dumps you, you take the whole packet. That will solve your problem. Indeed, this will solve all your problems. Okay. So what's the moral here? The moral is that strengthen any activity that helps strengthen the social bond can make us happier. Okay? And this is my second activity for you, and here it is. My wonderful classmates. The original activity is as follows. It's called Plateful of Praise. So what you do is this. You divide your class into groups, say groups of 4, and each group literally prepares a plateful of praise. Okay, so they prepare little pieces of paper, they choose another member of the class, not a member of the group, and they write little things about what they love about this other person. And then they hand it to them. Okay? And research has shown that not only does the recipient feel great about all these little bits, but mostly it's the people who make this gift, if you like, that feel happier. All right? So this is a slightly different activity. What I would like you to do is this. I would like you to think of somebody, preferably in this room, okay, and write 3 sentences about what you like about them and what it is that makes them special. Okay? And I'd like to demonstrate this. I've already done my homework. I've got a little slip of paper. So something like this. Okay, mine is a bit longer. And the person I have chosen is my good friend Sylvia Guinan, here at the front. I think the thing that stands out about her is how amazing supportive she is. She always has a good word to say about others and their efforts. I also envy her social skills, something which I lack. But it's not that she always says the right thing so others will like her. She's also assertive. Okay? She will speak her mind and stand her ground, and I've always had a big admiration for brave people. Okay? So can we have a round of applause for Sylvia Guinan? A good thing. All right, so 3 sentences about something. Please write them down, okay? If you run out of lipstick, I can give you mine. You finished? You have to write proper sentences. Proper sentences. You're finished. Okay. Let's see. No, you want to tell them. That's the idea. Remember that you can be volunteered afterwards. Yeah? Make sure you write things down. Yes. I will. You'll be the last one. Okay, if you're finished and this person is in the room, perhaps you can go up to them and show them. But I'm going to ask some of you to actually read out what they have written. Anybody would like to volunteer to read out what they have written? Wait a minute. Yep. Penelope. Yes. Okay. Penelope's. Go ahead.
I'm listening. He has a big heart.
Okay.
He's very generous and full of energy and creativity.
Okay, and that's what makes him special. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Anybody else? Yes.
Yes, I have written about Agnes Maria.
Okay.
I have written that she's very supportive. She's always there for us. And smile inspires us.
Okay. Great. Anybody else? Anybody else? Look, you said. Okay. 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 Mind you, I had to pay him for this. Yeah. No, thank you, look. Get 20% extra for this. All right. So once again, you get the idea. Students write these things and they get up and share these things, with a classmate. And that makes them feel great. All right. Next element here, attention. Now, a key idea in boosting happiness, okay, is maximizing thinking about positive things. All right. You might say, why is this important? And the answer is because of spillover effects. Now, this study took place in the library. That's Xerox machine. Okay, imagine you're a student, you go into a library, you take a book, you go to the Xerox machine, you make a photocopy, okay? And then as you come away, somebody stops you and says, oh, how happy are you? I say, oh, I'm reasonably happy. 5 out of 7 perhaps. So they did this with a number of people. And they did the same thing with another group. Okay, again, these people took a book and they went to the Xerox machine and they made the photocopy. And as they were coming away, they asked them, how happy are you now? And these people said, oh, I'm very happy. Life is fantastic. I'm a 6.5. So why this change? The answer is the researchers had cheated. They had placed a shiny new dime on the photocopier. So these people, they went to make a photocopy, said, oh, that's a dime. So pocketed the dime. And then when they were asked how happy they were, they said they were ecstatic. That sounds a bit silly, but it's very interesting. The momentary pleasure they got because of finding the dime had colored their perception of reality. And if you think this is weird, how about this one? Imagine you're a student and you're walking in the university campus and somebody approaches you and says, good morning, and hands you an envelope. So you take the envelope, you open it, and this is what you find. You find a shiny new dime and a card. And the card says, this is for you, the SMILE Society, a student community secular alliance. We like to promote random acts of kindness. Have a nice day. Okay, so you carry on. So this was the first condition, and they did this with a number of people. But there was a second condition. Imagine, once again, you're a student, you're walking down the university campus, and somebody stops you and says, hello, and gives you an envelope. So you take the envelope, and you open it, and this is what you find inside. A shiny new dime, and exactly the same card, but there's a small difference here. There are 2 questions. Who are we? The SMILE Society, blah, 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 and so on. Why do we do this? We like to promote acts of random kindness. All these people were later contacted and they were asked, how happy are you? Question, which group do you think were happier? First, second? Who thinks it was the first group? Who thinks it was the second group? Okay. The answer is it was the first group. But why? Apparently, there is a mechanism inside our brain that wants to make sense of things. We always try to find explanations about why things happen. And once we have found this explanation, we wrap things up and put them away or forget about them. Okay, so if you look at the second card, it's the way it is framed, it looks as though it provides an explanation for what happened because of the question and answer pattern. Question, who are we? The SMILE Society. Why do we do this? Because we like to promote, etc., etc. So the brain happily accepts this explanation and puts the whole incident away and forgets about it. But the other people, because it doesn't look, they still have the same answers, but they don't have the questions. Yeah? So they keep thinking about this. So you can imagine these people going home and telling their partner, the strangest thing happened to me at the campus today. This guy approached me and gave me this envelope. I mean, why do they do that? What a bunch of weirdos. Yeah? And they keep thinking about it. And because it's a pleasurable experience, we've got a new dime after all, yeah, they feel happier. Okay, so what's the idea here? The idea here is that it's all about the time that we spend thinking about good things, good stuff versus bad stuff. Okay? Hence the role of mystery. Here's the thing. If something bad happens to you or your students, make sure you find an explanation, any explanation, so they can wrap up the whole incident, put it away. But if something good happens to them, it's a good thing if they keep thinking about it. Why do you think you did so well in the exams? Or it could be that, or the other thing, and so on. Do not explain things, because explaining things might mean explaining things away. Okay? So the moral here is, the key to happiness very often is what we choose to focus on. It is attention. What we direct our attention to. And this is my next activity. Fantastic times. Okay, over to you. I want you to think of a time when you were on top of the world. You're really, really happy. Maybe a great party you attended. Maybe the day that your husband proposed to you. Or, I don't know, your graduation day. Anytime. Okay? And I want you to think about it and tell the person next to you. And the other person has to ask you 3 questions. Okay? Let me check my instructions again. What do you have to do? Okay, and share this with? And what will you have to do? Ask 3 questions, okay. Off you go. But we're okay, we're okay. Okay, let me stop you here. We don't have the time to do everything at length. So, what was the occasion? Just put up your hands. I want to see what. When you graduated, okay. Anybody else? Any other happy moments, happy events? Any phone calls from Johnny Depp? Messages from George Clooney, perhaps? Yeah. Somebody, yeah. Sorry. Ah, that's wonderful. Okay, anything else? Mm-hmm. Any other? Never happy day. Okay, all right. Well, as I say, the best is always yet to come. Sylvia, what about you?
Okay, mine is a big story about my twins because they were born 2 months premature at 1.3 kilos.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to breastfeed them, but the doctor said I wouldn't be able to do that because I wouldn't be able to keep my milk. But I kept my milk supply going for 2 months. And the first day my daughter drank milk naturally.
Okay, all right. I understand that. Okay. Right. So that's the idea. Simply by reliving these experiences, remembering and reliving these experiences, simply this makes us happier. plus the fact that we share this with other people. All right, and this brings me to the next thing, the role of laughter, of course. Most of us associate happiness, okay, with smiling and laughter. But we think that the direction of causation is one way. I feel happy, and that's why I'm smiling, that's why I'm laughing. But could it also be the other way around? Here's an interesting study involving a pencil or a pen. So psychologists did that, and they told some people, okay, I want you to do this task in front of the computer, and all the while, I want you to hold this pen between your upper lip and your nose, like this. Okay? And then they told another group, I want you to do the same task on the computer, and I want you to hold this pen between your teeth, but it shouldn't touch your lips, like this. Okay, so they did that. And then afterwards, they were asked, how happy are you? And amazingly, the second group said they were a lot happier than the first group. Now, why? And the answer seems to lie in something called proprioceptive psychology. Yeah? The idea is that in ambiguous situation, our brain asks our body, how are you feeling? And in the first case, the body said, well, I don't know, but I'm frowning, so I must be angry. Okay. But in the second group, the people in the second group, apparently the body said, well, I don't know, but it looks like I'm smiling. So I must be happy. Now that sounds a bit crazy, but it isn't. It has been replicated a number of times. Here's another example. Dr. Kataria is a medical doctor, and he was doing research on the beneficial effects of laughter and smiling on people. So he read article after article after article about how great laughter was, and how it helped lower the heart rate, and how it lowered the blood pressure, and how it boosted the immunity system, all these things. And then he thought, hang on, why don't we do it more often? Laughing, that is. So he started what he called the joke club. He asked people to come around, and they shared jokes with each other, and they laughed, and he monitored their health. And apparently, yeah, it was beneficial. The only problem is that sometimes, people came up with, sort of sexist jokes or racist jokes, and some people found these offensive. And then he had another idea. He said, wait a minute. We don't need the jokes. We need the laughter. So he gathered the people together, and then he just told them to laugh, just like that. It sounds a bit silly, okay? But again, they did it. And once they had started, because it's contagious, yeah? Once it started, it did actually work. And again, he monitored their health, and again, he found beneficial results. Okay, and he started something called laughter yoga. And if you go on YouTube and enter his name and laughter yoga, you'll see lots of video clips on this. So what's the moral here? The moral is that humor makes us happier and helps build stronger bonds between group members. Because there is a social element about laughter is a social activity. We don't normally do it very much when we're alone, okay? And if you laugh on your own, people start worrying a bit. Yeah? It has a signaling element, and it helps create something called emotional contagion, okay? It's a way for the group to feel emotionally in tune, if you like. So the moral for us teachers is this. When you're planning your lessons, make sure you include a good dollop of humor. And you don't need to prompt your students to laugh just like that. Now that YouTube is widely available, you go on YouTube, you type comedy for ELT, that's my own channel, okay, and you choose one of these funny clips there. And this is the last thing we're going to do today. Okay, we're going to watch Rod Gilbert, the clip about the Navy and scrambled eggs. Okay, here it is. This is Rod Gilbert. He's my favorite stand-up comedian. And he's going to tell us about a time when he wanted to join the Navy. Yeah? And there was this advertisement on the radio. And they wanted to persuade people to join the Royal Navy. And they wanted to show them that it was a challenging thing. So they asked them 4 questions. And the first one was, can you fry an egg? So 2 questions for you. What were the answers that Rod Gilbert gave to these questions? And second, what was the solution he came up with. Enjoy.
I wanted to join the Navy. That's what I wanted to do, actually, if I'm truthful. I wanted to join the Navy when I was a little boy. I always thought I'd escape from Wales, see the world like my granddad, join the Navy, go somewhere drier. So I'd start with the sea. And I heard an advert on the radio last year. It ran and ran. It shattered my dreams. Some of you will remember this advert, right? They were trying to persuade you to become a chef in the Royal Navy, right? And it got me very confused. It put me off. I realized I could never join. It said, can you fry an egg? Can you fry? I remember the first time I ever heard that advert and I thought, no. No, I can't. Maybe the Navy's not for me. And then it said, could you fry an egg on a boat? I thought, no. Then it said, could you fry an egg on a boat in a storm? I thought, no. I thought, to be honest, you're not making this any easier. In some ways, it's getting more difficult to fry this fucking egg of yours. In fact, maybe you're talking to the wrong person. Maybe you're looking for somebody who said yes to the first question. And then it got very confusing. It drove me, went nuts. He said, could you fry 200 eggs for 200 hungry sailors on a boat in a storm while you're being bombed by the enemy? And I thought, no. The answer's still no, mate. The answer's still... But then I thought, it hit me in the brain. I thought, maybe I could do scrambled eggs. Well, let's face it, they've practically made themselves by this point. I thought, is anybody going to mind? Is anyone really going to mind if I bring out scrambled eggs instead of fried eggs tonight? You know, there's a battle going on. Is the Navy going to kick off if I suddenly slight change to the menu? It's scrambled eggs instead of fried eggs. Is everybody going to go mad if I bring out I thought, come to think of it, maybe this isn't the best time to be thinking about dinner at all. Maybe we should try and fend off the enemy first. If any of us survive, we can always get a takeaway later, can't we? If it's that important.
You see what I mean? What was the solution to the problem? Scrambled eggs. That's it. Okay. Last words. 4.5 keys to happiness. 4.5, yeah. First of all, learn to reappreciate things. So focus on the things you should be grateful for. Okay? Don't take things for granted. Remember, second, happiness comes from between. I love this phrase. Jonathan Haidt. Point number 3, learn to redirect attention to pleasurable things. And finally, watch funny clips. Okay. Oh, and what about the 0.5 thing? Get yourself a kitten. I find it works. Okay. Hope you like it. Thank you very much.